Okay, hello, this is Max. We're working on discussion 10, which is iterators, generators, and streams in spring 2015. And this is a quick review of iterators and iterables. So in Python, we sort of have two interfaces that we're going to expect you to know well. One is the iterator interface, and the second one is an iterable interface, which I'll talk about in just a moment. First, let's talk about the iterator interface. So an iterator is any object that has a next method. So we're going to say that all iterators have defined some next method, and an iterator represents a way to sort of look one by one over a set of values in some sequence. So some examples of objects that have iterators associated with them are examples like a list has an iterator associated with it, the range object has an iterator associated with it, strings have iterators associated with them, and for each of these iterators I'm able to, this is probably a form that you're used to. For element in some string, right, I'm able to iterate over the iterator associated with this object string right here. Okay, so anyway, back to this. We've got some next method, and what is the next method's job? The next method is to first check if we're done iterating. So if the last item that I got out was a 3 from this list, for example, then when I call next again on this, the iterator that represents this object, I'm going to get a stop iteration exception because I'm done iterating. I've looked at each of the values in that sequence. So yeah, if we're done iterating, then we're going to raise a stop iteration exception. If not, then we're going to return the next value, whatever that might be. So that might involve computing what the next value is, or making some call to a server and then returning the value of that, or actually looking in the file system or whatever we have to do. So whatever happens, this is just going to return the next value in the sequence that we're trying to represent with our iterator. Okay, so here's an example of an iterator. Most iterators are going to have to keep track of their state. So an iterator, our iterator right here has a self.current, and what we're going to do is we're going to say that our iterator is going to count from 0 until 10. And every time I make a new iterator, I'm going to set my current equal to 0, and I'm going to set some max, some value that I'm trying to get to. So here's how I would actually call this. Iter1 is equal to iterator1, making a new iterator instance. And since it's an iterator, it's defined the next sequence. And so I can call, so if I imagine I'm doing this in the interpreter, I can call next on iter1. And what this next is going to do is it's going to execute the body of here. My self.current is not yet equal to self.max, so I'm not going to raise my stop iteration exception, and I'm going to increment my self.current, and I'm going to return my self.current. So this is going to go from 0 to 1, and then I'm going to return a 1 here. And one thing you'll notice is that each call to next is actually changing the state of my iterator. So this next call to iter1 is going to return a 2, right, because I'm looking at my self.current, which is currently 1, not equal to self.max. I'm not going to raise the stop iteration exception. I'm going to increment self.current to 2, and then I'm going to return that value. Okay, and this is going to keep happening until we're equal to 10. And then at that point, we're going to raise the stop iteration exception, and next is going to return stop iteration exception has been raised. And so it's not going to continue to increment or return self.current. Okay, so I encourage you to play around with this. So this is one side of our iterator and iterable interface. The second thing that's important is an actual iterable. An iterable, these are all examples of iterables. An iterable is something that has implemented the iter method. So iterables have implemented the iter method. And all the iter method does is return some iterator, which has an... Okay, so this is all we're going to expect you to know about iterables. Iterables have an iter that is going to return some iterator. Now, it's possible that a single object implements both iter and next. If that's the case, then iter can simply return self. So if I wanted to add an iter to this iterator class right here, then all I would have to do is define iter and have it return self, because it's already implemented this next. Okay, so iter simply returns self, or returns some iterator. Okay, this is a traditionally very confusing topic for students, so if you have questions about this, please feel free to ask in the comments on YouTube or on Piazza, and we'll get them addressed. Great, thanks for watching.